Like, explain a little bit about that. Let the people know a little
We
bit
come
about
from a
that place.
we come from a small town, so King Street, everything is like close knit,
Mhm.
and being so close knit, it's like everybody know everybody. There's no getting away from drama. If you have family drama, everybody gonna know about it. Um,
So it's a small town.
then we also got to deal with aspects of poverty, illiteracy, and things of that nature. We come from a town in which it's called the corridor of shame in South Carolina, in which we come from an area that the literacy rate is some of the lowest in the United States of America, in which the average person that graduates from high school within the counties that represent ours, such as Williamsburg County, where we're from, they
Williamsburg
actually
County.
graduate with a literacy level of sixth grade on down. So that means even adults in our county, for a lot of the times, weren't literate past eighth grade level.
Why do you think that is? As far as
Because we weren't bred to be intellectuals in our area. We come from the deep south, in which a lot of our ancestors was bred to be field people. And even when me and you grew up,
Mhm.
we were far removed from enslavement, but you remember I worked in the tobacco field, man.
That's
A
right.
lot of us worked in the tobacco field. A lot of us were
Well,
field labor still to that till we graduated high school. A lot of our people didn't see the value in education because a quick dollar with labor gave you your basic needs. Basic
okay.
needs being met in an impoverished area is something that's going to entertain you, keep you going, keep you high, keep you, away from your harsh reality, things of that nature. So it's easy to be led in the wrong direction. Or it's easy to be finding ways to try to get away from your reality when you stuck in poverty, and that's all you really know. So that's where we come from. We come from an area that's all we really know. Poverty, trying to make the best out of bad situations, make things do, and then single parent households a lot of times. So we were just like how they say every poor neighborhood, every hood got similarities. Like, no matter, I've traveled the state and coast to coast, and I've seen similarities in poverty, and we weren't absolved from any of that. Single parent homes, and that, to a question you asked earlier, that would help me separate a lot of myself from my peers, because a lot of my peers weren't privy to have a father. So having a father, even in the capacity in which I may felt could have been was limited or could have been more, what my father gave me compared to my peers was overabundance. You dig what I'm saying? As my own self, it's unfair to compare how I do what I do with my father to do what he do with me. And the reason why it's unfair to compare that and make that comparison, because I'm not my father. I, as a man now, I only know or can only attest that men do the best they can. And I won't put past my father that regardless of decisions he made that impacted me or his household, he was making whatever decision he felt was best for us. So in my own personal ways, I can say, yeah, he could have done more. I wish he spent more time with me compared to the students at C. Murray. I wish we had more bonding time and things of that nature. I can say that now, but growing up, my dad made me feel like I was a spoiled kid because I had a father, and just having a father, being born in the '80s, and a lot of my peers ain't have no father at all. Like, I saw structure and order in a different light. I saw a woman respect man. I saw a man be revered for doing what he's supposed to do in his home. I saw
Mhm.
that your home is your peace sake, and all you got is your home. You work for your home, you come home, and you want that. And my family showed me that, and then my family y'all showed me diversity. Um, Whereas a lot of people, like my mama, do the cooking. My dad was the chef in my house.
Yeah, he can cook
So,
too. I ain't gonna lie to you.
well, we call cooking a gender role, but I never saw cooking that's feminine because my dad always cooked, my granddad always cooked,
Even
and
we was always talking about cooking. You know what I
and
mean?
I
All of
and
us.
I
You feel
and
me? It
that's
wasn't.
all I do
It
now
wasn't
is I be
nothing.
whipping it up and stuff. So it's
I
like
used to. I used to pull up too.
I have no problem, cooking and things. I had no problem with like a gender thing. Like when I get my own house, my woman better cook. That wasn't even an issue.
That's corny, man. That's
My
corny,
thing was
boy.
if I'm
Yeah.
cooking, I don't want to, like, personally, I did want to have that ego stroke of coming home to meals, and I do get that sometimes. But I'm not above cooking meals too, because when it's time to cook, and it's Southern cuisine,
Hmm.
I'm the man for the job. Like, no disrespect to my wife, I
we
cook, and I
we
really
tell
do.
them, we tell the ladies, man, listen, hey, my cousin and I, man, we cook, man. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
where y'all
really
boys
cook.
come from or what y'all be on, but we cook where we come from.
So, you know,
Straight up.
that kind of that molded how I view manhood, how I grew up, where we come from. That kind of what separated me, because I was raised by my father and my grandfather. In the house, I always had my father. My father came home every night. I don't remember a night in which I had a I'm not come on tonight, like them type of stuff. Yeah, my father went on vacation and on fishing trips and things like that, business trips. But
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
sir.
like, he fed up and can't come to his own house. I never seen that. I never seen my father say, I don't want to go home. My father always expressed to me, the home you built is your safe space.
Your
And
parents was always a vibe, man. Was
yeah,
always a
if you
vibe.
couldn't go home, that's your problem. That ain't nobody else's problem but your problem, because you built the house. So, for example, cooking. When I started being older and I cook, I just felt like that's what I brought to the table extra. So if a woman was to get with me, I'll be providing extra too, especially if she can cook as well. That means if
That's
she
it.
tired, I can whip up a full course meal. We don't gotta spend no money. And then if I'm tired, vice versa. She cooked this better, she can whip that up. I cook that better, I can whip that up, vice versa. So that's what kind of like molded me, because seeing my father cook, seeing my mother clean, I understood that relationships were complementary, bro. Meaning you complement each other.
Exactly.
You don't compete with each other. You don't it's not like she's secondary to you. You dig what I'm saying? It's
Exactly.
complementary. Like, the thought process of a woman being secondary but necessary, it kind of deregulates the woman and her purpose in that sense. Like, when it comes to balance, you really have to complement each other. So I've learned complementary just being in a two-parent household, sacrifices, the importance of communication, the importance of working things out, even when you see disagreements. My parents, they never were one that didn't work out disagreements in front of me. I seen them work out disagreements in front of me, and it wasn't detrimental to my upbringing. It was more seeing how problems solved from an adult perspective as well. I seen accountability from the man's perspective. I seen accountability from a woman's perspective. I seen, it's times when my father's leading, he got to stand on his talk, his too. And my mom just have to respect it, and humbly respect that he said what he said. And if it's any issue, he's gonna be the one fix it anyway. So even if you don't agree, he's gonna be the if it's an issue, he's gonna fix it anyway. So even if you don't agree, you in the household with him, you might as well just follow the lead. And before you is detrimental to you, just to give him the benefit of the doubt and see what he's talking about from his perspective. So seeing that complimentary relationship from my parents, it helped mold me into a different aspect. Me personally, my mom, you know how much I love my mom too. Like, I thought I was a mama's boy, but I was a mom. I can say I was a mama's boy like anybody else who loved their mom. But I did see flaws and errors in my mom. I didn't see and revere my mom to the same capacity, like she could do no wrong. I love my mom to the highest moral standards of loving your mother, and I honor my mom still to this day. But I saw her flaws and errors. Like, I saw how my mom would jump to conclusions. I saw how my mom would do certain things in error. And it's not like she was wrong or bad or anything, but I did see her flaws. While other dudes ain't really see their mama flaws like that. They just went, my mama said this, my mama said that, I'm gonna do what my mama say. Whereas I was able to see flaws in both parents, because I seen how my mom was able to check my dad was able to check my
Hmm.
mom. So what that showed me,
You
both
seen the proper contrast or balance between the two.
exactly, and both capacities have human error. So
That's true.
seeing that, it's like, nah, my mom, she my queen, but that don't mean she above error. My dad is my God, but that don't mean he above error. As a child, that's what I'm thinking. Like, yes, my dad is this, but he's still my provider, my protector, and my foundation. No matter what, he still held the titles. And those titles, like when I left my house as a child, I ain't have to, like, you know how some people say the voice of God, intuition. We all have intuition, human intuition. But you know who my voice sounded like? My dad or my granddad.
The person who was in your ear.
Exactly. Because in our brains, how our human brains function and how our human brains make sense of this reality, we have to hear voices that we revere. So
Exactly.
if I'm going to create this voice in my head that guides me, it's going to be a voice in a person I revere. So anytime I hear tighten up, get right, it's either my father, my grandfather, or even growing up, I had an older brother, so it's one of my brother too. Like
I
my
feel the
brother,
same way.
my brother, you know, he was more my age, so he could show me how the streets and society work from our age perspective. My father, being older than me, giving me his knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of his lifestyle, was able to give me how he was when he was a child, but it was far removed from when I'm a child. So some of the things he may do was outdated, same as my grandfather. But because I had three different aspects of males to look up to, I was able to kind of get some discernment from all three levels. Coming from King Street, seeing the comparing myself from poverty. Like I didn't grow up in the projects. All my friends grew up in the projects. I was raised around the projects. I was raised around interfaith and Christ, and all of my friends, childhood friends, a lot of my childhood friends come from those areas. But I didn't realize that I was in the same impoverished area because day to day, my friends came to my house and played my games and ate with me and fellowship and made it seem like I was in a mansion. You dig
Well,
what
we
I'm
turned
saying?
up, boy. Hey, we turned up.
So it
Hey,
was like
everybody, all the time. You would never know it,
everything,
man.
everything I dealt with, I ain't even know I was more fortunate than others until my peers told me, boy, you got this, you got the Dreamcast, you got a lot of, like I didn't know all that set me aside. But not only that, I used to be jealous of my friends, but I was jealous for the wrong reasons. Example, I had a high standard of being educated, right? I come from the first little group of people, some of them in Winsmore County. My grandfather was the first black man in East South Carolina to ever receive a college education. So I come from people that value education, mom and dad side. So when I had grades and I ain't do good in school, I couldn't just take my grades home and not care, or I could not care. But a lot of my peers, their parents was working and stuff. They ain't care about no grades and taking stuff home. So a lot of things I see as detriment, like, man, I gotta do this homework, I gotta do this, I gotta go to school, I gotta go. I can't leave school early, I can't do this. It kind of showed me how I had a family foundation when others didn't wasn't privy to that same aspect and family boundary, I mean family boundaries that instilled discipline. So coming from King Street, but being a two-parent household, and then being from a family that valued education in an area where literacy was abundant, it kind of separated me, my thought process, how I look at life, how I execute certain things. All of that was molded with those experiences because it allowed me to compare and contrast a lot of things, see my life in the same likeness as others, meaning we all come from poverty. So the same teachers you got, the same teachers I got. I didn't go to private school. I went to the same elementaries and high schools and middle school like everybody else. So I wasn't privileged when it came to that aspect. I didn't go to the Williamsburg Academy. I didn't do anything that was able to separate me in the conglomerate of the neighborhood. But my household did separate me because even within school, I had a higher academic standard than most of my peers. I had an outlook of life compared to most of my peers. It's like when I entered ninth grade, I knew I was going to college, while others was like, that may be something I might do, but I ain't got no problem going to work or the military right afterwards. With me, I'm like, nah, I'm going to college. Like I was already focused on going to college. I had that instilled in me. My granddad already told me, if you want to go to college, you go to college. I'm gonna pay for it. Like I had already had all that instilled in me.
Mm-hmm.
So that would kind of separated me from peers and things of that nature in the home setting, and what kind of helped me have a different outlook with my father, in which we was in a swamp one time, and it was a bad thunderstorm, and the swamp was murky, like every step I stepped, it was sucking up my feet, and then I ended up running into a hornet's nest. and I couldn't. I left. I ran away from the hornet's nest and got away from me and my brother ran away from the hornet's nest, got away from the hornet's nest, right? But I didn't catch it with my father. Just got further enough to wait for the hornets started attacking us. So at this time, I'm probably like 8 or 9. I'm stung by hornets. We in the murky mud, backwoods swamps in East Smith, South Carolina. My dad had to been like 40 to 50 paces ahead of me. So he like, come on, man, you better come on. I ain't coming to get you. Like he leaving me in the mud. I'm 8 years old. It's like I'm left in the mud. My brother, he's like 14, 15. He's kind of feeling some sympathy for me, but he doing what he needed to do to save himself. He
Oh,
getting
so
out of the mud.
he was running too. He was already
He
gone.
getting up out of the mud. Yeah, my brother,
Oh
he out. So he's closer to my daddy than I am. If my dad 40 paces away, my brother is maintaining 15 to 20 paces away from me at a time. Hey, come on, boy, let's go. Come on. Like he being a big bro, but also understanding like, no, you're gonna have to get through this mud. So it started to make matters worse. When my brother saying, come on, my daddy fussing, it started pouring down rain. So I done got stung by hornets.
man,
We was on the fishing trip at the time. So
like
I done got
Jumanji.
stung by hornets. It's in murky mud. And the fish I caught, I actually dropped it when I was running, being stung. So I ain't have no fish. At this point in time, you know what I'm saying, man. I want to go home. I'm crying profusely. Man, my dad, I'm thinking my dad gonna come back, pick me up, and take me out of these woods. My dad, like, no, I ain't taking you nowhere. He fussing, like, you better get up, boy. And I still remember this day, it started raining harder and harder. He's on the part of the grass now where it's not murky, it's high grass. He's just yelling at me. I'm like, yeah, I can't do it, but I got my behind up out of there.
Got about it, didn't you?
I got out of
It's
the murky water, and when I got there, he just started laughing. Like I told you, you can do it. So a part of that is
tough
what,
love.
yeah, a part of that showed me like that really instilled a lot in me because it's like even when you going through your roughest, you got to save yourself. My daddy showed me that early, man. Like you got to save yourself. Self savior is the thing. So I never looked for no mystery God to save me a long time ago because I was in situations
Mm-hmm.
where I'm praying like, please don't let these hornets sting me. And then what happens? I'm getting stung. Please don't let this mud please let the mud save me from this mud. Next step. Please, man, if anything, it can't get no worse. I just want to make it on. What happened? Boom, 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 boom. Thunderstorm, rain. So even thing I'm begging not to happen is happening. So I'm like, bro, life ain't no fairy tale, bro. Everything real.
I want to know, like, so was that one of the most dramatic moments there that
Nah,
probably
that wasn't
switched one of your?
traumatic.
It wasn't traumatic, or did it teach you
It was a life
one of the
lesson
most
moment. I ain't
one of the
trauma
biggest?
like I still wanted to go to the swamp. Like I wasn't scared of the swamp. Like right after the event, my dad like, you want to go to the swamp? Of course, as a young 8-year-old boy, I'm like, no. But the next year, I was ready to go back. Like I'm still like, it ain't break me. Like
Mm-hmm.
it made me realize I can do certain things that I think I couldn't do. So it instilled a power in me more than it traumatized me. I wasn't traumatized by hornets. I wasn't traumatized by mud.
But your way of maybe
I was
uh
more,
your thought was triggered, like
I was exposed to harshness of reality, and I had to
yeah, I would
appreciate.
say so. I would say so.
I was exposed to the harshness of reality, and I had to learn to appreciate the life lesson because people think losses are something wrong, but if you really a student of life, every setback is a learning tool, and it's life's way of showing you if you can get past that, you don't have to continue that cycle because life works in cycles. So what it told me earlier and showed me earlier is when I went through that, if I ever want to not deal with something, I have to get up and get out myself. Ain't nobody coming to save you, not even the ones who ordained and naturally here to save you. Big brother, your father. If you in danger and you got the capacity to save yourself, you got to save yourself. Even if you 8 years old, 9 years old, if you can save yourself, you got to save yourself. Because the harsh reality of life is that self-preservation is always the first rule of nature. And regardless of humans, we are natural beings. Regardless of what we may think and what we try to say to ourselves, they try to absolve us from nature, so to say. To say we more intelligent than animals and things like that, to try to make ourselves feel better morally. When it comes down to it, self-preservation is always the key. So as a father, you understand that's when you really understand sacrifice. Because as a father, once you become a father, and I can't
Yeah.
speak from a mother's perspective because I'm not a woman, but definitely as a father, sacrifice show you like, yeah, when I have this child, or even with a woman, even as a husband, when you become a man, you understand how important your role is in sacrifice. Because if you a man and you got a woman, you gotta have no children. You a man, you a woman, you and your woman out on a date, somebody come point a gun at your face. The man thing to do is to do what? Step in front of that woman, right? No thought process, regardless. The man thing to
Hold
do.
on. Well, how long did I know the woman?
I'm talking about a woman you care about, my boy.
Okay.
Even if now, and really, man standards don't matter. Man standards matter with common logic, but what you would do was put common logic if it was just some random woman.
Yeah.
However, I'm talking about instinct at this point. Think about instinct versus logic. I
Yeah.
said we men naturally who we are naturally, like a dog that's trained and domesticated. A car passed by, a cat passed by, another dog passed by, and he trained to sit and not move. He won't move. But is that really his nature? You know he want to chase that cat. You know he want to chase that mouse. You know he want to chase that car. But
That's it.
he's been already
Full speed.
programmed to go against his nature. Now, what I'm saying is, when you embrace being a natural man,
Mm-hmm.
you are quick to instinctively protect the woman, even though self-preservation is the first rule of life. So the fact that a man is willing to sacrifice himself due to the first rule of due to his nature, shows you that his nature supersedes what society says about him. Meaning, we don't care about our own, we don't protect our own. But look how many brothers got whipped and beat during the civil rights era that stood in front of dogs, hoses, batons, and everything so women won't get beat down. And even when some women dealt with that and was out there marching strong with them brothers, when they saw a woman get beat down, them brothers put their body on top of them women and took them beat downs, boy,
That's
without
true.
second thought. Why? Because it's our nature to protect our woman. Of course, you're going to protect our woman because your future goes through her. So that's why it's important to understand the natures of both. So when I understand the nature of both and my duties of both, I was able to see that within my household. Then I was able to see how my household separated me from others who didn't see that balance in the household. Then I was able to see how that stuff helped you sustain generationally. Because I not only came from a household of that, I came from generations of black families. My grandfather still was married to his wife. His father was married to his wife. So it was like I seen families through generations. And why was that important? Because I seen how family built wealth, family built sustainability, family helped build morals.
I want to know a little bit, like if you don't mind sharing a little bit about community savers. And I want the people to get a little good grasp, if you don't mind sharing about what you guys do and how does it apply to the community, and how much progress you guys think you're going to be seeing in the future, and how much progress you guys probably have already done. Yes,
But when
sir.
it comes to community savers, it was a nonprofit organization I began when my grandmother actually passed away, Edith Rose Williams. Well, the reason why I started with my grandmother, because although my grandfather had the farm, I don't know if you remember, but my grandmother had a lot of gardening in her yard. So I used to
Mm-hmm.
always help her with gardening and stuff in the yard as well. So the farm was more of a bigger, larger aspect of agriculture that showed me how business would work in it. Because my grandfather built like a grape empire. He started a vineyard on our farm. So we had what we could call a cash crop, something that was going to come in year after year,
Mm-hmm.
long as we sustain it and be able to generate a revenue consistently. So seeing that, having that background, when my grandmother passed, I just wanted to do something in the honor of both of them and the skills they gave me. So I started Community Saviors. And Community Saviors is a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to teaching gardening skills and agricultural skills to communities of South Carolina. My mission was originally for low income areas of South Carolina, but because of the global stretch of social media, I changed the mission to all areas of United States of America because I'm no longer residing in South Carolina or in an impoverished community, but the mission is still there and the need is still there because as individuals in this nation, we've gotten away from growing our own foods. So I'm on the mission now to bring that skill back. I work with youth, local youth, to show them that skill at like local middle schools. I have other people that may come out and assist me in my garden plots that I create around the local areas that I'm in now. And what I do is just try to teach individuals how to grow their food. Once we grow our food, I actually do like a garden. I call it my garden to grub series or farm to table series, as it's most popularly called, in which I take some of the produce and make like salsa, pizza, any type of dish to show them how you get your stuff from the farm all the way to the table or garden to, like I said, to grub. So I can get peanuts, make peanut butter, so we can have some peanut butter dip or peanut butter sandwiches, things like that. Salsa, jalapeno pickles, okra, stewed vegetables. I just try to figure out ways to grow food in which I can actually, soon as it's harvest time, turn into a meal in which the people that assist in the garden can actually see the fruits of their labor, the benefits of their harvest.
That
So
is awesome.
that's
That
what
is
Community
awesome.
Save is about. Me and my wife, we started it. I want to say 2017. We started it, and we're still going now. It was started in South Carolina, but right now I'm located in Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and we're still sustaining here in North Las Vegas, in which we got a garden plot, and I'm also working with the local middle school here, in which we have 3 garden plots, and I also started a garden club as well. So the mission of teaching, and the mission is to educate, empower, and improve areas of the United States through gardening and agricultural education. And I was able to continue that mission regardless of demographic, regardless of location, because in the United States, that skill is necessary. And a lot of people from our backgrounds and impoverished areas live in what we call a food desert. So the beauty of moving to Nevada, which is in the heart of a real desert, that if I can grow food in a real desert, I definitely can show you how to grow food in a food desert. Where if you live in the southeast, South Carolina, a major city such as Miami, in which you may live in an apartment, or New York or Philadelphia, in which you may live in an apartment or a townhouse, but you still want to grow some own foods. That's what Community Savers is here to show you and assist with as well.
That is awesome, man. And you know what? And also too, the link is going to be at the bottom right here. I'm going to have the link and everything at the bottom here by the time this video posts, everybody. So you guys will be able to get in touch with Community Savers, and also you'll be able to donate. We're all about spreading love here at the Wave Podcast. We're going to talk more about sports because my guy here is also a football coach as well, coaching a lot of the youth and bringing a lot of youth to a positive, safe environment as far as getting them out there, getting them active, and getting them to cooperate as a team. Sports, I've always found, has been a very creative tool in many different ways to bring our youth and our parents and just our civilization together into one common goal, even if it's all in fun. So I do want to go ahead and extend the floor. Are you, so tell the people, are you still coaching right now? Any sports right now? Could they track
Yeah,
any
I
teams
mean,
you have right now?
at this time in my coaching career, I kind of like I'm focusing on my children, just because of what I spoke about earlier. My dad was a band director, so he spent a lot of time with other children.
Yeah,
So a part of me, like, if I'm gonna invest my time in children, I don't want my children to feel neglected in the same manner I kind of felt, so to say. So I didn't want them to compare themselves to other kids, or what my dad did for others, what he didn't do for me, so to say. I didn't even want that aspect in me. So I coach my children. So now my daughter, I have a younger daughter. Well, I have 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. My oldest daughter and my younger daughter, both of those do track and field. My oldest daughter does shot put, in which she's top 5 in Las Vegas area, top 5 shot putter for her age group in Las Vegas area. And um my middle child, which is my younger daughter, or my second daughter, She does track and field and basketball, and in track and field, she's top
Okay.
15 in the long jump, as well as top 25 in the 100. And then this is in the whole entire valley of as far as Las Vegas is concerned. So that's pretty high. Um, and she also plays basketball, in which she played on the middle school. We have a JV team for our middle school that consists of sixth graders, seventh graders.
Yeah.
However, my daughter was in fifth grade last year, so she played up. Her and a lot of her teammates were fifth graders, and we also had a fourth grader, and we were still able to win runner up. We didn't win a title, the league's title, but we did make it all the way to the finals game and only lost by like 6. And we played under. We played upper league, so to say, because I had fifth graders. So my daughters play sport, and then my little man, he do flag football, so I coach that. Every sport my children do, I'm coaching. Now I did have experiences like I've coached in the summer during summer camps at prestigious universities like University of South Carolina. I was able to intern with Coach Muschamp and Coach Dillman. When I brought a recruit for Coach Muschamp's first signing class, I was able to
Yes.
with the Gamecocks, as you remember. I showed you the recruit that I had in Florida, Evan
Yes,
Henson,
sir.
one
My
of the
God.
top tier guys in Daytona sports that ended up signing to South Carolina, and myself was able to move and relocate back and actually work with him as a freshman and work with Coach Dillman and Coach Muschamp to help him transition. And then when I was working in Florida, I also used to work the summer camps with Coach Al Golden, and they used to pay me like little supplements to go work to coach the summer camps. And I've met guys in the likeness of Warren Sapp, Michael Irvin, guys like you mentioned, Coach Prime when he was a high school coach at the time. He used to come to the football camps and show love. And he was at Miami camp and Florida State camps and the UF camps. And he was one that showed love. So I kind of like had experiences in which I was able to meet a lot of prominent people in the sports in my coaching career. And I coached high school sports in Florida, South Carolina, and was successful in Florida. I helped lead a team to their first ever regional championship in 23 years. Daytona High School girls basketball. I also helped them with signing their first ever D1 basketball player who signed to Bethune-Cookman University, Division One, Chastity Brown. I also assisted with the football team making the playoffs for the first time in school history. So I assisted Daytona High School with that while I was in Florida. And I also coached in South Carolina at our alma mater, King Street High School. And I also coached at other county, Lee County, in which we were able to make it all the way to the state Final Fours one year. The best school in Lee County history. I've done a lot of things, basketball, football wise, girls basketball wise, football wise. I just have a passion for sports. But now my focus is on my children. Even though I still have that passion, I'm still competitive. Nothing supersedes me spending time with my children, and also seeing them gain their own love and appreciation for the game. Like it's it would be hard for me, or it would have been easy for me to impose myself, but I did give myself impose myself and my views on my children when it comes to athletics. But I have given myself a boundary to allow them to grow and learn in their own rights. So my son, I'm not as hard on him as you probably would think I am in football, knowing how hard I was on everybody in football. Like I give him his chance to grow.
His
But you
dad was a
also
beast
know,
out there, man. He has no idea. Hey, his dad was our Warren Sapp.
yeah, but I do have ways to give him like cheat codes to kind of like separate him from the pack. So I train him body control, plyometrics, things like that. My daughter, she's on my basketball team, but after practice, I'm working on her foundational skills, jump shots, um, backboard defense. Like my daughter, her nickname is Shimmy Duncan because you know she want to be like the female version of Tim Duncan. So
Timmy D.
we call her Shim Duncan, Shimmy Duncan, because she the female version of Duncan. So she more fundamentally sound. So after practice, a lot of her teammates, they go to the AAU circuits, while my youngest daughter with me, and we just focusing on fundamentals, bank shots, hook shots, things like that. And my oldest daughter, Of course, I take it to the park. You work on the weights, shot put, upper body strength, torso, torque within your torso when it comes to throwing that shot put. Things I used to do when I was in the shot put and throwing distance when I ran track with you and Coach Baker them years. So I just again,
That
man, when
motherfucker.
it comes to sports, like you said earlier, it molded me as well, man. It made me realize my leadership skills. It made me realize the beauty of competition, and it showed me how to separate myself, man. Like a lot of that hard work ain't come just because I was one of the bigger ones, and you probably could say that I was a beast and big and worn out, but outside of others, but you personally know I never missed a day in the summertime working
That's
out.
true. That's true.
Like it was times I used to be going to get people to work out with me.
That's
Like
true.
it was times I might have been the only one in the gym.
You used to go get the quarterback to go.
That, that's why, like
Yeah,
how I
for real.
focused. I realized what it was to separate myself. So when I went off to college on a football scholarship, I realized I earned that because others didn't, and they was just as good. Some was better, or some was more hype, or played in football. I can easily say better, but let's just say we had peers that were in more glorified positions: linebacker, running back, wide receiver, that did not get the offers I got because they didn't do the grade. They weren't the student athlete I was. Like you said
I know
earlier,
I wasn't. Shit.
I was a student athlete. I made sure my grades was right, and I did what I needed to do for the athlete part. So that made me show me how to separate myself.
Yeah, man.
So now,
I
as a
I
coach,
do look.
I
Yeah,
was
go ahead.
about to wrap it up. As a coach, that's how I just teach my children. Separate yourself. Bring your A game. What are you gonna do to separate yourself from the next guy, the next person, the next young lady? So that's my coaching philosophy now. But yeah, I'm still on it, man. I'm still for the youth, like Coach Prime. I'm actually
Yeah,
happy.
talk about it. Talk about it. Oh, let me go ahead and bring you on into that. So, dealing with being a father and a coach and having the background that you've had, and the successes you've had all the way to now. Like I said, guys, we can go on and on and on about this, but I want to make sure I tie all these things together. As far as bringing, we want to know the story, and if you notice, we've been bringing this along as far as where we come from, the atmosphere that we come from, the fact that we don't have to be a product of our environment, but yet we still contain bits and pieces of that, and how we can still grow, and how we can still now take the positives that we learned, those jewels that we have, that $1 million worth of game that those guys have out there nowadays, and apply that to the youth. What can a parent or someone starting out with kids get from maybe your experience, or a person like Coach Prime's experience dealing with kids you have to coach and be a father to at the same time?
Well, when it comes to that aspect, you gotta really be genuine because the parents need to understand that we got families, we got children too. But one thing I learned from Coach Prime, I kind of learned it from Coach Prime directly, indirectly, but directly. Because in my encounters with Coach Prime, it wasn't as direct as my encounter with Warren Sapp. Like when I was with Warren Sapp, I was able to coach a position group with him. I was able to talk to him, ask him questions, things like that. Coach Prime, he was in the camp, and I'm like, "What's up, Coach Prime?" Just a speaking aspect, speaking engagement. How you doing, sir? Coach Williams. Nice to meet you, big fan. Thank you for coming to the camp, showing my players love. That type of aspect. Now, when it comes to teaching children that's not yours and coaching children that's not yours, the parents of those children need to understand that you're making a sacrifice. So Coach like Coach Prime and myself, we didn't bring those children into the world, but you're bringing those children to us in the capacity that you want us to help them. And you're bringing them to us because it's something your child wants to do. And we're in charge of the entity that you're in the vessel that your child wants to do. We're in charge
Correct.
of the football team. But that comes with responsibility on both parties. So if you leave your baby with me and you want to say it takes a village to raise a child, it's an accountability on your part as well as a parent to ensure that your child is doing what he has to do at home. For a guy like Coach Prime and for people like myself, both of us have high standards. Regardless of if it's about the money or not, Um, I would say it's not about the money, but I would always say have value for yourself. Meaning you have to have high value for yourself, high morals, high standards. Coach Prime shows you how he does things. We were all raised on Deion Primetime Sanders as athletes, young athletes. And one quote that he used to say was, "Look good, feel good, play good." So he was showing you that your demeanor, your swagger, how you carry yourself does matter. And
Mm-hmm.
how he played the game showed you it was a standard. I got a prime time standard. I don't got no 3 o'clock standard. I don't got no 1 o'clock standard. When I step on the field, it's bright lights, camera action, because it's a prime time standard. Now, as a player that plays any sport, let's correlate that with the statement, bring your A game. You know what that means. It's a standard. A isn't money, but it's a value system of grades. And you know that A is the standard of success. F is not. So if you bring in your F game every day, do you want to separate yourself? Are you really trying to be great? No. You know what an A is compared to an F? Bring your A game, right? So now
Exactly.
prime time. If you're gonna be prime time and flash, you got to earn the right to do that. So look at prime time. I'm paid to stop the pass on half the field. And he was the best to do it consensus. You can say others, Mel Blunt, Champ Bailey, whatever your opinion may be. But the standard of cornerback was set with Deion Sanders, so to say, in our era.
It
No other
was.
cornerback set the standard like Deion Sanders. So we understood what a high standard was based on prime time. As a coach, all we do, if you live by that standard already as a player and you brought your A game, or you knew the difference between your A game and your B game and how bringing your A game separated you from bringing your B game, it's easy to instill those same values on a child, because a child know what an A is, because now
Mm-hmm.
you're in the school age. So now if I'm telling you bring your A game, you can correlate that to school. Are you bringing your A game today? What do you mean? Are you doing your best? Isn't when you do your best in school, you get an A? Yep. Well, are you bringing your A game today? And then, as prime time, myself, as you know, it's ways you got to impact various kids. Various kids need you in their face. Da 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 da. Get this, get that. Holding them accountable verbally. Other kids that have so much verbal lashing that they might just need a hug. Example for Coach Prime, the young man from Seminole, Florida High School that was dropping the passes last Saturday night, and before the game-winning touchdown pass, it was a moment on the sideline in which it displayed Coach Prime saying, "You got this. You are right." He hugged him and said, "I love you." And that boy went out and made the touchdown play. Jimmy Horn Jr. That's what it. You not
There we go.
you not disres,
Technology.
you not you not you not shook. Prime time ain't been wavered. Prime time wasn't shook, so you don't lash out at the kid for making mistakes. So when you know that, like prime time ain't you dropping the ball, you come in, boy, you better I'll take your scholarship. That's not gonna be productive. What's gonna be productive is to not show this kid it's all right, we still in the game. The next time I come to you, handle that. And that's what happened. So guys like Primetime, we and myself, we utilize our experiences. We utilize things that we know that made us successful. And we hold
Mm-hmm.
students to that standard. Just like a parent would, just like as you a father, you know what you did that's successful. And anytime you probably see your children doing something that may go down the path, you like, oh no, no, don't even do that. Same as coaching, man. I just got the experiences and I know what it was to be successful. So if I'm telling the child, nah, man, you don't need to be focusing on heavy weights until you get to college. Focusing on plyometrics, explosion, right form. Then when you get to college, you will be lifting heavy weights with the right form and won't be messing your body up. Then you will prevent less injuries, so on and so forth. Unlike myself, when I was in high school, I was happy to put 560 on my back and squat, even if I was doing it wrong. So I got my experiences. I have my success stories. I have my life lessons in which I wasn't successful. And I show kids like I wasn't successful doing it that route. That's why I don't suggest that route. And when I didn't bring my A game, that's when I wasn't successful. When I made it to my heights, I brought my A game. Going to college in North Carolina, I had to bring my A game because I had to separate myself from the pack. I had to separate myself. I had to create my own film. I had to send my film out. Then I had to send out film that was worthy of getting a scholarship. Once that film was worthy of getting a scholarship, I had to go to college and earn my keep. I had to make the depth chart. I had to do all that. I did my part. I made first team depth chart before my injury. The guys that went to college with me in North Carolina know me for my tenacity on the field as well. The guys that know me from Bethune-Cookman and was with me when I walked on understood that I took a journey that was unorthodox but still had my own forms of success. Like I was an offensive lineman that transferred to HBCU that was D1 and went to a position of a pure running back as if I was a pure running back my whole life. I switched to a running back and I actually made, the team as a walk-on though, wasn't a scholarship player. So people that know me from that walk and know my journey give me some level of respect.
People don't understand. You heard what this man said. This man was an offensive lineman. Now we're gonna get it. We'll get into if he wants to share about the transformation as far as the body types going from an offensive lineman down to a halfback, even in life, as far as any weight loss that need to be required or not required, or for just the things you need to do on a daily basis. And I know I can speak to that as well. I do want to go ahead and get you to talk more about like this man was fast as hell. Like this man used to play defense and offense on the defensive line, the offensive line. And when there was a fumble, he could pick it up and still outrun everybody to the end zone. So when he says he was an offensive lineman, went to a running back, let's not think that we talking about somebody running a 6'5" or 6'7" or 7 in the 40-yard dash. This man could easily have broken down into the fours and even in the low 40s as well.
In South Carolina, I played offensive line, defensive line in high school my whole life. And I was always thought before my senior year in college recruiting that I fit the bill of an offensive defensive lineman. I would have been straight. But then when college recruiters came and checked me out, and just, like I didn't pass the eye test because of my height, it was discouraging. Like, dang, I thought because you know how you measure yourself. Like, man, I'm better than that guy. And you remember them bigger guys, like even the guys like when we played Mullins and all them guys, and I used to manhandle them bigger guys. They used to get my respect after the game. Like, yeah, you might be shorter or you might be not as big as us, but you hold your own. And I always thought that mattered. Then when I didn't get all the love from colleges and they showed me like, nah, bro, you short. For your average lineman, you short. For your average football player, you short. And I just was like, dang, but I want to play at a high level. But the first school I went to, they didn't say I was short because it was a small level school. So they wasn't looking for 6'5" linemen. They was looking for linemen that could play. So when I sent my recruiting visits, I lined them up like University of North Carolina. It was University of North Carolina, Asheville, and it was Western Carolina and Asheville, North Carolina, that I was sending my tapes and stuff to that was recruiting me at the time. But then my mom, an error on her part, she was calling like the information, like the 411, to get my details for my visit, right? And when she called 411, she said something, I guess her accent or whatever, had the operator send her to North Carolina Wesleyan College, not Western Carolina.
Oh,
so when I sent it,
technology.
I was, the coach was like, "Yeah, what's up? Your mom was asking about a visit, but we don't have you in our recruiting form." And I was like, the coach was like, "What's your name? Where you was thinking about going?" I was like, "Well, we was going to Western Carolina." He was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I could put you on a recruiting visit here if you're willing to come here." So I'm like, "Yes, sir. I don't mind." So I ended up setting up a visit with North Carolina Wesleyan, and then I sent them my film. And I did my other visits to other colleges. I actually visited Bethune-Cookman when I was in high school, and I also visited Western Carolina as well. Bethune-Cookman ain't really Bethune-Cookman ain't give me no scholarship, but it wasn't no big deal. They just was like, at a time, and like we can prop 48 you. a partial scholarship and let you work out and try out with the team. And if you make the team after that, you get an opportunity to earn a full scholarship, something like that. It's called Prop 40, 48 or something. And then Western Carolina didn't offer me a scholarship neither. They just offered me what we call a preferred walk-on.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wesleyan, North Carolina Wesleyan was like, I don't know what the other schools tell you, but if you come here, you can start. That's all he had to tell me at that age. Like at that point in time, recruiting, all that, I just wanted to play college ball. So
I feel you on that.
I chose North Carolina Wesleyan. But when I went there for the first year, I was balling, like I said, in camp, made first team depth chart, but I broke my hand. I don't know if you remember, I had broke my hand freshman year in college. Once I broke my hand freshman year in college, I redshirted. That was my first year there, and my first major injury in football, and I redshirted, and then I was kind of like distraught. The school I chose wasn't really a good college life. You and Lamar was at Benedict having a blast. You,
BC.
I actually knew some football players on Benedict, like Big Robert, I think his name, from Holly Hill. You remember we played against him from Holly Hill?
He probably went by a different name. Most likely, I know
I
him.
forgot his name. I think Lamar could tell me his name, but I know it was the big guy from Holly Hill. He was a monster at Holly Hill, but he was a big guy that went to Benedict with you guys. And then I had another dude I knew from North Carolina that I knew from one of my teammates in North Carolina. His name was Big Kiesel, if I'm not mistaken. His nickname was Big Kiesel, but he's like Marquise or something, so he's called him Big Kiesel. So I knew about what was going on at Benedict. I was kind of jealous, so to say. Like my college life, my experiences wasn't nothing like an HBCU experience. So y'all boys had me like, no, I got to transfer to HBCU. So I just wanted to,
Boy, hey.
my team
Yeah,
was Miami and UF and all the Florida teams. And
we
at that
was
time, I used to have the fro, the goals. I wanted to be a Florida boy in a sense, so to say. I love the culture, what they had represented. Trick
I
Daddy,
love being in Florida, man. I ain't gonna
Miami,
lie.
and all that. So I was like, I'm gonna go to school in Florida. So I chose Bethune-Cookman because
I should have took my ass with you.
it resonated with me.
I took
So
my ass with you.
when
If
I
I'd have
went to
knew,
Cookman, it was
yeah.
it was D1. Now I went from a small school, NAIA, transition to D3 or whatever Wesleyan was, to D1 AA at the time, but basically D1 FCS. So when I got to Cookman, I ain't no lineman. I tell them boys I play lineman. They look at me like I'm stupid, like, because at that time I had also made a dedicated decision to change my diet. I was from
Mm-hmm.
Kane Street, South Carolina, home of the pig picking, home of pulled pork, home of
Oh my
barbecue,
God. Yeah.
home of some of the best food, Perlo rice, some of the best food you gonna get, right?
It'll get you. I'll tell you.
So I had
I'm
to change my whole diet. I changed my diet originally in North Carolina when I said I was going to go to running back when I transferred to Cookman. So I stopped eating pork and stuff in Cookman. And then that summer, I
good
met
choice.
I met with some brothers that was like, bro, pork is the first stop, but you can stop eating meat too. So when I stopped eating pork, I went from like 290 something pounds, like a 300 round. Then I dropped pork. I went from 300 like 250. So let's say a 50-pound drop off. So this is between first semester and second semester. I done dropped 50 pounds going into school, going into summer, right? So that summer, that's when I met those brothers who was like, and one of them was actually my physical brother, who was like, man, we vegetarians now, man. The pork is cool, but I'm gonna show you how to eat with no meat. And that whole summer, I took on that challenge of not eating meat, and that let me drop from 250. Now I'm entering Bethune-Cookman at 225, 215 weight. To me, that's ideal. I'm 5'9", 215, short, stocky. Now I know I'm ready to play running back. But all I played my whole life been O-line, D-line. So when I get to Cookman, they like, what position you trying out for? I'm like, running back. They like, bet, go to running back. But I was never given no leniency or nothing. Meaning I was never given
Was that shit tough? Was that shit tough to do?
somebody get into. I was never given the leniency of
But you could.
the leniency of catching a running back catching a pass out of the backfield. The lenient, I wasn't giving no leniency. I said I was going to play running back.
So you was in the flat too. You was catching the out the
Man, I had to
flat.
catch the flat passes, like all of that. Run
Because I
quick
already know,
blocking.
I already know you was ready for the A
Like
and B gap. I wasn't
at
even.
first I had to learn how to cut on a dime, all of that. Like in my
I
mind,
wouldn't
I
worry
was
about
like,
that.
I was going to play fullback because I had a teammate from All-Star game, Leonard Stafford, that played at the University of South Carolina. But
Yeah.
in the All-Star game and throughout high school, he was like me, a short lineman. So he played guard and tackle at Carver's Bay. But then when he went to South Carolina, Coach Spurrier moved him to fullback, and he ended up being an all-SEC fullback. But in Spurrier's offense, he was a traditional dot the I or
Okay.
extra
Yeah.
blocking back fullback. So he had inspired
Running
me like,
power
man,
and shit like that.
if Naughty went to fullback, I can be the fullback. But me going to Cookman, I didn't do my research because at the time I was playing under legendary coach Alvin Wyatt. And he had his own form of the flex bone, which is called Wyatt bone. So the B back position, which will be a fullback in a traditional offense, was actually like more of a running back, a single back. And I was a single back, fullback with two wing backs, and I'm just a dive. So I'm really focused on being a dive back. It's not called a
Mm-hmm.
fullback. So I'm not blocking. I'm just running the dive. And if the dive not there, the quarterback pull, and I'm getting hit by the linebacker because I got to carry out the face. So that was a whole different aspect because if I was a dot the I fullback, so to say,
Yeah.
I would have been just pulling. And you know I love to pull.
That's what I was saying.
Like if I'm just gonna pull a lead up and bang, yeah, let's do that. I could do that.
Hey.
But I
Hey.
had to turn into a real running back. The blessing in that was when I went to Cookman, my roommate was a guy by the name of Adrian Walker from Pensacola, Florida, Escambia High School, the same high school Emmitt Smith went to. And I
Yeah.
think Trent Richardson. But I'm saying that to say he was one of the top receivers in the state of Florida. And he was my roommate. He was a cool guy. So he used to take me in the off season, like when during my during that summer, not the summer, during that first semester when I enrolled in Cookman, I had to walk on that first season. So the first season I'm at Cookman, only thing I could do is work out. I can't practice. I couldn't do nothing till that next spring, right?
Yeah.
So that first year, which was 2005, between August and December, I played intramural football, and that's when Adrian Walker helped turn me from a lineman to a skilled player. So I started off with intramural football, thinking, oh, I could play flag. I did it at another school too, so I could play flag. That's nothing. But flag in Florida was a lot different than Carolina because them boys was fast, quicker hips, quick twitch muscles. So even if I'm like, I just want to play linebacker and center and flag, I still had to have some wheels to guard people, and I still had to have some wheels because the center is an eligible receiver. So that
That's crazy.
that gave me the will and the want to get more athletic. And then I was
But
still
damn,
able to
man,
work out.
how athletic you gonna be?
And I was still able to work out with the football team still. So I used to go to workouts in the mornings, train with my dog AD in the evening, and only play intramural that first semester. Then the springtime came, and I ended up getting on the team in the spring, actually playing B-back. So I'm thinking I'm good. I done got a little bit athletic, but spring was tough, my dude. The first week of spring, the coaches were looking at me like, "Why are you even not the head coach to Coach Wyatt?" Um, to his respect, man, he always showed me love for some reason. But the position coach, because I was this walk-on guy and he had a stacked backfield, he was on some shit like, man, why are you even here? Like, because I did not look the part to his defense. However, I bust my behind and I ended up just impressing him because he counted me out. And it's like what boy Gino said last year. He counted me out. I just ain't right. He wrote me off. I just ain't right back. So he used to count me out like, oh, here we go. Do a drill. He gonna flop. But guess what? The PJ, it was PJ Brown and Chauncey Hampton was the two veteran backs in front of me. And those guys, man, they was always in my biggest corner. Maybe because they knew I didn't threat their position. So they didn't have no position, no problem helping out the little homie. Or maybe just because they were some good dudes. But they always had my back. So when I would prove the coach wrong, like if I was in a drill and he like, watch he fuck it up, watch he fuck it up. Like, you know, he talking to them. They'll do the drill first. And, you know, after they do the drill, they in line with him. He like, watch he fuck it up, watch he fuck it up. And I busted a shake off the drill or do something good. And they'll be like, oh, shit, see that, coach? You trying to dog my dog. My dog got that shit. So a lot of them times, them boys motivated me. PJ, Chauncey, and there was another brother by the name of JV who already had this spot secure, but they never hated. So I just ended up getting better at B-back. But it was another guy in front of me who the coach favored named Big John. And Big John did fit the part. He did play running back in high school, so he would just fall in line. And he was better than me, no lie, like at the running back position. But for some reason, the stars aligned, bro, right before the spring game. Big John got his ass rocked. He got a concussion at practice doing that same flat route I'm telling you about. We had to do like a swing route. That was one of the passing plays in that flexible offense. The B-back hit a swing. Big John hit that swing route, and one of my dogs laid Big John out, and that was like the day before the spring game. Guess what that means? Big John out for the spring game. Now, the spring game consists of all reserves playing for the most part, proving their part in D1 college football, where the starters are really just laying low, playing 1 or 2 series, and falling back, right? Well, in my backfield, I said the guy's names earlier. I had PJ was a starter, Chauncey. Both of them were starters in a sense because they were interchangeable at B-back, and both of them were like the top back. Chauncey was like one of the top backs in the MEAC. PJ was one of the top rushers in the MEAC. So they had, you know, they didn't have to do no spring. And JB had just blew up. So he had a great spring. He did his thing, and he was a walk-on prior to that, and he earned a scholarship. So he didn't have to play no spring. So the 2 days before the spring game, it was supposed to be me and Big John. Big John gets hurt. So what happens in spring game? I get every last carry, my dog. And I just held my own. And after I held my own, I just got the respect. Like, I went in like, who is this dude? And I left spring game, everybody saying 31, 31, because that was my spring game number. So everybody from, you know, Eric Weems that made it to the Falcons, Torian Charles, a lot of them just was respecting what I did on the field because I acted a fool one of them. I think the spring game or maybe a practice. I just acted a fool when it came to cut blocking, laying cats. I just acted a fool. And the whole thing was, but 31, an animal out there. Whoever 31 is, he acting a fool. So everybody knew me as 31. So they were like, there you go, they go 31. Even when I went head up with somebody that I wasn't supposed to handle my own with, basically, and I held my own. And at the end of practice, you know, during practice, we got into the squabble. But at the end of practice, buddy showed me my love. Like, good job, bro. I ain't even mad at you. Did exactly what you supposed to do. So I earned my respect. And I ain't never really make no big splash at Cookman as no football player. Because even the next season, only thing I did was sit the sideline for the most part, play kickoff return team. But I was a walk-on. And after that, man, next year, I just decided to focus on me and graduating high school and then coaching. Like, I ain't played nothing but 1 year at Cookman for the most part. And it helped me realize the potential I had as a football player. Then it also made me realize that it's a business too. I saw people get drafted. I saw people that were supposed to get drafted not get drafted, and a player that went undrafted have the longest career in the league. And that's what I'm talking about, Eric Weems. When Eric Weems he got signed to the Falcons. But during that time, we had the top safety in the MEAC, and we had one of the top linebackers who actually had a documentary made about him in high school. So at that time, I was thinking NFL scouts was coming to see the linebacker and the safety. Lo and behold, it was this skill player, kick return, wide receiver. In my opinion, bro, was just as good as a guy like Chad B, Randall, Quasi, guys you know. He was
Chad Burgess, by the way, guys. We want to go ahead and throw that. Shouts out to Chad Burgess out there.
Quasi Gary and Chad Burgess was like he reminded me of them. And he made it to the league. And he stayed in the league. You can look him up. He made the Pro Bowl and all. Eric Weaves, kick returner for the Falcons and kick returner for the Tennessee Titans. He made the Pro Bowl as a kick returner in the NFC when Devin Hester was in the NFC. Let's put that in perspective. So I seen brothers from my area, HBCU, make it at a high level. But what I did also realize is I didn't have the tools that scouts were looking for. I knew what scouts was looking for. So I seen what they was looking for. And also I seen how Eric Wings was training when the others weren't. So to see him training when nobody else looking, because at the time I was getting treatment for my shoulder. So I used to leave the training room, look on the field, and I used to see Eric with weighted chest vest,
Yeah.
cone drills, out there by himself or with a quarterback doing his own thing. And I was like, he gonna go. Nobody looking for him, but he gonna go to the league. I realized that everything might not be for me, NFL, but I knew what it took in a sense, secondhand, for you to get your opportunity. And then I was also real with myself. Like I played running back, and I felt like after the injury, I just maxed out. And in college, when I got banged up in the football, I banged up both my shoulders. So after the spring game, where I was saying I was going to get treatment, I separated my shoulder, my right shoulder grade 3 and my left shoulder grade 2. Still got bone spurs in both of them today. And I just didn't do the recovery afterwards in the summer and stuff that I was supposed to do on my own merit, because I was a walk-on. So I didn't have the same medical luxuries as others.
I get
Um,
what you're saying.
so I had to really do my own rehab, use my own doctors, and I kind of got like discouraged out of that, and just decided to focus on the coaching aspect. So after I decided to put my cleats up, I just started realizing I want to teach and coach. So that's why after my football career was over, I still love the game, but I used to just go around coaching youth sports and go around picking brains of like Coach Wyatt and the coaches around us about what it took to get in there with their position. And I started off as a Boys and Girls Club. Nobody knew who I was. One little Boys and Girls Club championship there. But the beauty of it was I was coaching kids that were going to end up being some of the top athletes in the area. I ain't know that. I'm just doing my job. So as I'm coaching them in Boys and Girls Club, flag football league, these kids going back to their padded football leagues, dominating. And now they coach like, who is this? Who is that? That man y'all always with. And they like, that's Coach Williams. That's Coach D. That's Coach D. Will. So now they like, who is this coach? Nobody really know me. But the kids know me. And this guy in high school, I started struggling in high school, bro. 0-10, 0-10. But I heard he was looking for players or trying to recruit players from the area I coach. So I went and go chop his brain up like, yeah, man, I'm trying to coach, man, high school, get my feet wet. And I ain't never coached before at a high school, but I have coached at these youth leagues, and I could give you, access to some of the youth of D-Line, Florida, the pocket of Spring Hill, where some of the best athletes come from. So if you bring me in coaching staff, I got a relationship with some of the parents. They might be willing to come play for you, man. So that's how I got my first high school coaching job. And then I had to stick to that word. So I actually brought some of my players that played flag football with me and went to the Boys and Girls Club with me. I brought them to my high school with me. They ended up being some of the best players in the high school, Deltona High School that year, but we wasn't really that successful. But the coach that brought me on appreciate what I did, gave me all this responsibility. So now I'm really known in the coaching sector because I was already on TV. Like he had a interview for preseason he was supposed to attend, but he didn't attend. He allowed me to attend it. It was a Channel 5, Orlando Channel 5 interview. So I was able to be on my first TV interview, bro, without even coaching varsity the first time. And the dude was like, we hearing about this crazy offense and we got this new offensive coordinator that everybody know. Like it was a big. He boosted my ego up, and I ain't even really deserve it like that in a sense,
That's
because
good, man.
I just only thing I did was have a good summer, and that was just flag football. So people kind of heard he bringing that flag football stuff, and them boys out in that spread offense, and they beat this team in the summer league. Summer league is flag football, but when them
Well,
pads came on, it
down
was
here,
different.
man,
It
Dudes
was
still play down here. Like
yeah,
you know it. In Florida, it don't stop. You can play
yeah.
football until you damn near 80 years old.
That's why I say so.
Had it too.
When flag football had when I actually went from showing them going from flag football and coaching varsity padded, that's when I really started making my name and really started going in as far as a coach. And it wasn't wins and losses neither. The first thing that got my name was I was able to get. We was the sorriest team in Florida. I say that with and stand on that. We was a team that went 0-10 back to back years, a 1-9, 0-10, back to back years when I first started. It wasn't pretty. And the only reason I was able to get on like that is because I had to choose a sorry team that was gonna give me opportunity because I was in the area where D-Line was going to state. Mainland High School was one of the best teams in Florida, the best program in Florida that just won state when I was in college. So, and producing D1 athletes. So, I just had the opportunity to be in Florida. So, I was like, you know what? I can help some of these kids get to school because the notion of being from Florida and playing football separate a lot of these kids from other kids regardless. So, I'm from South Carolina. I can call schools like Benedict, South Carolina State, Allen, and let them know I got kids in Florida that want to play, and all they're gonna hear is Florida. Let's go, and
Mm-hmm.
ready to
That's a
jump
fact.
on. So I made my mark that way. All the small schools in North Carolina and all that I used to play with when I played football in North Carolina, I hit them up, sitting in a lot of my Florida guys' tapes, got a lot of bite back.
Exactly.
First class I had, we went 0-10, but guess what? I had somebody signed to a college. Second class I had, we went 1-9, but guess what? I had somebody signed to a college, FAMU, D1, first ever football D1 signing player in Deltona High School history, Josh Calabro. You can look him up, Calabro. Um, then after that, I had the coach out that hired me on. He wasn't successful, so they got rid of him. That's how the game go. But a new coach they brought on was successful in his own right, but he was successful in the private school sector. So his challenge was to see if he can emulate that same success at the 6A level, because Deltona football was 6A, playing in the same conferences as Mainland, you know, Oviedo, things like that. Schools you may be familiar with since you live in Florida. Plant
Yeah,
City,
Vito. Yeah,
something like,
Plant City. I'm
things
in
like that.
Tampa, so you already know. Shouts out to everybody in
Tampa,
Tampa, man. You
Tampa
already know what it
Jefferson, they
is.
4A, but people
TPA,
in that
baby.
caliber. You know what I'm saying? We was playing top tier teams. So they was like, your challenge coming from that small 1A Christian school is you gonna have to show us you can do this in this big conference. So the coach kept me on the staff because he heard about what I did. He heard about he knew of me from because the coach was from the hood in which I used to do the Boys and Girls Club. So he heard of my name a lot. So he just had to put a face to a name. Who is this Coach D Will? Who is this Coach D Will? I keep hearing about this man. Who is he? So when he finally met me, it was like first time he met me, like, what's up, man? Like he knew me for a long time. So he brought me on, asked me to help him with the players. I brought the players on. Then me and him helped turn that program around, made the playoffs. That's when I was actually coaching down in Miami over the summer, getting my name out down there. I was just doing a lot of good things to help kids get exposure and notoriety. So it used to be kids from Mainland, Deltona, D-Land. If they ain't get their scholarships from their coaching, and I talk to a coach, I send a coach their way. One example I remember, I ain't gonna say I get these guys scholarships. I just sent the coach their way. It was a guy that was a late bloomer in Mainland. He was a cornerback named Rick Rump. But I used to coach with his cousin at my school. And his cousin was like, yeah, man, Rick just qualified late and these other schools ain't hitting on him. I'm like, hey, bro, I just talked to West Virginia coach. I'm going to send West Virginia coach to your cousin. And I'll tell him about it. Like, so they ain't have him on the radar, put him on the radar. Next thing you know, Rick Rump signed to West Virginia. And if you look up Rick Rump, West Virginia, you see he had a great career at West Virginia. Started, interceptions, things of that nature. I think all Big East, all Big 12, just check them out. So I'm saying that to say this. When I started coaching, my claim to fame wasn't really success on the field. It was what I could do for children and help children get to college. So when I started getting kids to college from sorry Deltona, that was a stigma. It was kids from winning programs like D-Land and all that that ain't have scholarship offers. But I got this kid from Deltona offers from all over. So they like, how you got an offer? how you got an offer? How you, comparing? So I used to be
Mm-hmm.
like, because I work hard for my kids. I coach for my kids. I used to take my kids to camps. I used to drive them to Miami. I ain't just go to Miami and go down there and coach for my own deed or self need. I used to have groups of kids from Florida driving to Miami, man, to the University of Miami, taking like the Central Florida crew to Miami. I used to have kids spend the night at my house before we go to Miami to go to Miami. You dig what I'm saying? I took some of the kids to their first ever game, first ever D1 game in Miami. So that's how I had this partnership with the University of Miami. And coming from King Street and Miami being my favorite college growing up, it was like living a dream, homie. So my claim to fame is helping the kids get to college. Then
That's awesome.
after that, and the new coach came in and we turned the program around, then it was like, oh, that boy know football too now, because I was still an offensive line coach. And that area was able to be critiqued under the sun, because it's like, all right, these boys run the ball now. Oh, these boys produce 100-yard rush. Oh, these boys produce 300. And then it's like, oh, yeah, that O-line working. Freshman O-line, I'm picking the depth chart. I had seniors mad at me because I'm starting freshman because I see a dog in them. But my freshman that start, he actually played for West Florence, right? I mean, not West Florence, West Florida University right now. He actually had a scholarship to University of Austin, University of Tennessee Martin, but he transferred to West Florida, which is still like a high D2 or D1 AA, something like that. Traquan McNair. I started and seen his potential as a freshman. Ended up being one of the top linemen of Central Florida by the time he was a senior. So I used to see stuff like that and able to see potential in kids and hype kids up. Like I was a hype man, bro. When a kid, I had the number one tight end in the area. I sent all this stuff after his freshman year with me. He came into us as one of the top eighth graders, top receivers. He left freshman year with me, sending stats in as a top tight end in the nation. Blake Henson, look him up. Now he play starting small forward for the University of Pittsburgh basketball team. He's their leading scorer, one of their returning scorers right now. But I coached him when he played football, and I was the kind of the reason he kept playing football because he was a basketball superstar. But he used to tell me all the time, man, as long as you coach, I'll coach. But if you leave this junk, I ain't playing no more. And sad to say, bro, I left there telling that boy focus on basketball after that. No
That's
lie.
how it is, man. Hey, man, good coaching is hard to find, man. And you already know we know this, man. But just for the people out there, we know the coaches that we encountered, like Coach Kennedy, the offensive line coach, Coach Jones, and which I know played a big pivotal part as far as just helping you along, even though you were naturally talented. Coach Kennedy, these guys are, I mean, just instrumental in just building men,
Yeah,
even whether
because
they were
Coach Kennedy,
exactly.
you was blessed to experience Coach Kennedy, so that was good because you saw how he had an idea how to build a program.
He made me want to be there, man. He made us like, I ain't gonna like no shade on Coach Baker. I love those guys because even though they
They
got on my
wasn't looking to
nerves
build
because
to your point, they was not looking to build a program. They were looking to build their coaching resume. It's a difference. Coach Kennedy was building a program. He was blessed that that was his first ever program that they gave him to. So he was still trying to instill values. We worked out. We went to camps. He had a whole program set. I was able to see the night and day of Coach Kennedy era, and I'm winning, playing, starting as a freshman on those squads with Coach Kennedy.
y'all
And I
boys
saw
good
when
as
the other guys,
hell.
and I saw when the other guys came in and the difference. And that to your to that point you made, bro, that's what kind of had me separate the difference between a crappy program and a good program, or a program with people just winging it, hoping it, to a program that people
Mm-hmm.
know it. Coach Brogdon, Coach Baker, when they got the jobs, they was just winging it. Even talking to Coach Baker and Brogdon in my adulthood as Coach Williams talking to Coach Baker, they
Mm-hmm.
told me he wasn't ready for that type of stuff. You remember we tried to get. Remember I actually started a petition my 11th grade year to get Coach Baker to be the coach when Coach Kennedy was announced he was leaving, and I started that petition, and they still ain't
I
hired Coach
remember
Baker.
that.
But Coach Baker was like, I always appreciate you for starting the petition, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. And Coach Brogdon was his assistant coach looking at me like, yeah, and they gave me the job, but I really wasn't ready neither. I was just blessed to get it because Reggie was my high school teammate. And he gave me the job, but I wasn't really ready. I just was trying to help Reggie out. So they took the job not even ready for it, bro. We like not understanding the reality. And then the next coach after that, you had already left and went to the military school, but the coach Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
the next coach after that, he was more concerned on building his name. Same thing. So I had to deal with the growing pains of somebody trying to build up their name and set their standards and this, that, and the third. And this, I don't care what y'all did with Coach Kennedy. Y'all doing this with me. Whereas me, seeing the difference between Coach Kennedy and success and the failures, I'm like, I'm gonna do what Coach Kennedy with because that was success. So until you show me any other thing other than success, your way, I'm gonna be hesitant for it. And that caused a kind of a rift with me and that coach my senior year. But as I got older, we talked it out. But I'm with you. That kind of helped mold me as a coach because I dealt with some things as a player from the coach's perspective too, man. Like I saw how Coach Baker helped me get to college, boy. So I did some of the same
That's how
things
I was going to
Coach
mention
Baker
that earlier
did.
when you were talking about. I remember you saying something about Coach Baker being a
That
part of that.
man was the one that sent me to my college visit, bro. He was the first one that took me on a college visit as a coach to his alma mater, Showan College. He took me, Bo Gator, Terrence Hardy, and Travell. And he had showed us love, dog. Like
Go
Coach
get it.
Baker showed me love. He even introduced me to one of the top players in East Clarendon and took us on a visit. And I introduced y'all to him, Maurice Kennedy at the time. That was the top
Yeah.
player for East Clarendon. And
Was he
one
number
of
7?
one of the top players in the area. I was showing like, I went on college visit with homie. He cool. I might go to college with my dog. So
I
that's why
remember
I
that.
showed. Yeah, you remember like that was all off the strength of Coach Baker. So I did that type of stuff, learning from guys like Coach Baker. I took the good of all my coaches because Coach Kennedy could give a fat baby about you going to college, as long as you do what you need to do for him. Coach Baker wasn't successful on the field as Coach Kennedy, but he did help us get to college and show that you can go to college, bro. You don't gotta, even if these big D1 colleges ain't out here looking at you, it's other colleges that you can go to if you introduce yourself to them and blase blase. And then Coach Wilson showed me how to big your players up, how to hype your players up. He showed me the media only gonna put down in them papers what the hell you tell them. So if I tell them my damn cornerback had 14 interceptions today, guess what that media gonna write down? 14 interceptions. If I tell them my running back had 300 yards rushing in this game, guess what the media gonna write down in the newspaper? 12 carries for 300 yards. When I realized that game from Coach Wilson, I was like, oh, I can hype my players
Uh,
up. Now, granted, I ain't past that to lie on players like in the capacity he did, but it was nothing for me to do film, do max preps, and instead of 15 catches, I put 17. Instead of 275 yards, I just round up 300.
but
Because
it's
I
no
know,
difference though. Like
but I'm just saying,
like
I
Coach
took what
Prime,
he
like
did, and
Coach Prime, like Coach Prime does it in the media every weekend now. I mean, he it's not even necessarily a specific stat, but if you just like to your point, bigging up your kids, to be able to say, nah, that he's a Heisman like right now,
yeah,
game 1. You know what I mean? Like Travis Hunter, but my son, both of them are Shador, both of them are Heisman winners right now. And it's not necessarily saying they're gonna win, but just like, hey, I'm gonna put my people out there first, and that's the way it should be.
nah, and that's what I learned. That's what I'm saying. I learned the power of promoting your players
Now what they saying?
because you gotta promote your players, and I learned that from one of my Coach Wilson, because Coach Wilson promoted players was better than Coach Kennedy, but Coach Baker showed me how to promote players in another aspect. Coach Wilson showed me how to promote players to the media. Coach Baker showed me how to promote players to colleges and how to present your players to colleges. And when I learned both of those, I just put both of those together because when it was time for me to talk to the media in Florida, oh, I was always Coach Wilson. I took everything from Coach Wilson. I bigged all my players up. I don't give a good god dog. I had my players looking just as good as the players in the other one. And we really was good. It was nothing. And when they came to speak, when I said offers, I got offers. Oh yeah, they got offers. I wasn't capping or nothing. Only cap I was doing was probably this right here. This guy got 5 offers. Now the 5 offers may be UF, Florida State, Miami, South Carolina, USC, California. Now I'm naming the 5 offers Evan had. Now the media come, I might be like, yeah, he got 5 offers, but instead of saying South Carolina, I say Ohio State. Like I would have done that. Like if he had Miami, USC, Florida, and at the time Florida ranked, USC ranked, Miami, I try to say add an extra ranked team to offer him, which probably just interested but didn't offer.
It's like negotiating without
Yeah,
negotiating.
I kind of like sold the play. Like when you have a player like Blake Henson or Evan Henson, man, everybody interested in him. Everybody interested. You could call at school and be like, hey man, you got a tight end on you still looking for tight ends? Yep. Well, I got Blake Henson, so-and-so number. For real? Well, we interested. And they'll put him on the board right there. I had it happen. I seen it happen. I had it happen, bro. So knowing how the game went, it was nothing for me to sell my players. So my reputation for me was getting players in the college. So much that when I moved to South Carolina, back to South Carolina from Florida to coach, one of my players from Deltona left Deltona, Florida, and actually transferred to South Carolina and came to South Carolina, played with me in South Carolina, and almost helped me win the state championship in South Carolina.
Man.
Like he came, his mama moved to South Carolina. He came to the school I coach, and we made it all the way to the lower state, the game before lower state championship. One region and all, and he ended up getting a full scholarship to Livingstone University.
Sometimes I wonder why the fuck am I signed? Why the fuck am I signed? Why the fuck am